Hi there, Tad Hargrave here, sitting on my front porch, and today's video, it's about I guess the social consequences of different ways of marketing. So if you're the kind of person where you really want your marketing to feel good, but you also see, well, there are these tactics that seem a little sketchy, but they work, they can make a lot of money, and you feel kind of torn about that, this video is for you. So before I get into it, of course, feel free to click the subscribe button on YouTube and the little bell icon, which will notify you when I post new videos. And you can follow me on Facebook at marketingforhippies.com. I have an email list, so there's lots of ways to find more of this if you like it. Okay, so here's the story. I have a client who's in my mentorship program, Khalida, showgirlawakening.com, and she does this amazing weaving of burlesque dance and women's empowerment, this kind of art, psyche, and spirit woven together. It's just incredible. And she worked with me in my mentorship program, and we went at her niche and point of view, just hammer and tongs. It took a long time, but the result of it was her homepage, her website, and all the sales letters. So if you go to showgirlawakening.com, you'll see all the amazing work that she did on it. And one of the consequences that was the most delightful of all of this was that she had somebody sign up for one of her Showgirl Awakening weekend, or Burlesque from the Inside Out weekends. And from England. Had never heard of Khalida at all, but just literally saw the website, read really delved into it to explore it, and then booked a ticket from London to San Francisco, sight unseen, basically, had never met. And so this was, of course, one of these confirming moments of, oh my God, it really does work to do the heavy lifting on the point of view and the niche and one's website and the sales copy, all this. So not a surprise to me, but delightful. And anyways, this woman then became a really dear friend and colleague of Khalida's, and now that woman is actually checking out my work, apparently, looking at the possibility of working with me more deeply, which is, anyways. And one of the things Khalida said, she says, this is how it should work. Like, the world needs more of this marketing that's point of view and hub marketing based. And I went on this rant. I wanted to share this, what came up with for me with this, because I said it's so true. The world does need more of this kind of I did another video about this of maybe I'll put the link below, the difference in marketing where saying trust me versus I trust you. So I won't go into that, but there's a lot to say there. But it just, of course, that's what most marketing says, is fundamentally trust me. It doesn't say I trust you. And so much of what I see in modern marketing, even frankly a lot of the stuff I see in the heart-based conscious scene, comes from this place of trying to convince people to buy, trying to get people to say yes, and thus manipulating people. But in order to manipulate somebody, you have to dehumanize them in your mind. You can't do those tactics to somebody if you see them as an equal, sovereign, autonomous, worthwhile human being. You know what I'm saying? You can't treat somebody like that. So we have to subtly dehumanize somebody in our own psyche and label them as a prospect, as a potential client. I'm not saying not to use those words. I'm not precious about it, but you see what I'm saying? There's a kind of, if that's the only way you refer to them, you think of people as numbers, then this comes across in the way that you treat them. And of course, all women know this experience, or I imagine most do anyways, of being treated like meat or seen like a piece of meat. Or men may have the experience of only being seen as a provider or only being used for their status. And it's real. At some level, it's flattering, it feels good because you're getting attention. But at another level, you just know they're only seeing one piece of you. You know, they're relating to this tiny aspect of you, and they don't see you at all. And while you might enjoy the hit of it in the moment, of course, it leaves you with this profound loneliness. And if you start to play that game, if you become the Instagram influencer, and you start kind of, putting yourself out there, and you put out all the provocative photos, or, whether that's sexual or money or whatever, you build this fan base and this following, but it's the hungry ghost thing. You start to yearn for this real connection, real meaning, real purpose, but you're not getting it. Those likes and the shares and the subscribers, it doesn't do it. And so you do more, but now you're getting more of what's not going to fill you. And this makes you kind of spiritually diabetic at a certain point, because you were getting the sugar hit so many times, but then it just burns out your kidneys or whatever it is that makes the insulin in the body, and then you see what I'm saying. So there's something very profound that happens when you meet with a potential client, somebody who might want to work with you, and instead of pushing them, instead of using all these tactics and techniques to get them to buy, you don't take advantage, you don't prey upon them. You just say, look, I trust you. You make the right decision for you. There's something that happens that is so beyond just business, that so transcends a marketing or sales conversation. Because most of us have gone through a lifetime of being coerced and manipulated to do things. By our parents, of course, sometimes, teachers, all the gold stars and the grades. What do you think that is? It's coercion, it's bribery. We get a job, employee of the month, and economic bribes and incentives. And so most of us, no one's actually ever sat down and asked us, what do you want? And just said, I trust you. You'll figure it out. And so we're so dependent on other people's guidance. Our locus of control is so completely outside of ourselves. So to sit with somebody who says, no, locus of control is in you. You got to make this call for yourself. And of course, I could make a case. I could do a long video, and I've done many, of just why you don't want to manipulate people and coerce them. It's bad. It's not filtering. You're going to get clients that aren't a fit, that are going to then complain and bitch about you. You get bad word of mouth. It's a hassle. So just selfishly, there's a million reasons not to do it. But also on their end, there's a reason, lots of reasons to do it. But one of them is this fundamental affirmation of their worthiness and wisdom as a human, an affirmation of their intuition, that they can trust their own body, which is saying yes or no. And that the most important guidance they have is going to come from inside. That doesn't mean you don't share your opinions and say, look, I've got a honest take on this. I do think this would be useful, but it's up to you. And that doesn't mean you don't lower the risk. Of course you do that too. You say, look, I do think after all you've said, I think this would be a fit. You're the one who's going to have to decide. But if you'd like to, let me lower the risk. Here's a 2-week trial. Here's a simple way you can see. Take the puppy home, see if your kid likes it. But let me bring the horse to you. I'll feed it. I'll have my stable hand clean up after it every few days. And at the end of 30 days, if it's not fit, we'll take the horse back, no cost. You can do those things too. That's not coercion. That's just making it safe for people to see if it's a fit. Coercion is when something is not necessarily a fit and you're trying to convince them it is. Another word for that would be gaslighting. So you see what I'm saying? This is very deep. Do we want to be participating in a way of doing business that is fundamentally about gaslighting and coercion and manipulation, knowing what this does to people? There's an elder who I studied with a lot, and I sat down with him. I studied with him for a number of years, and I said, you've seen me now. You know a bit about me, and I'm wondering if you have any advice for me. You've probably seen some patterns in me, heard things about me, I don't know. Is there any advice you have for me? And he shook his head. He said, I wouldn't dream of it. He said, you'll figure it out. But I wouldn't dream of imposing that. I can only see what I can afford to see. I can only see what I see from the outside, but there's so much more, and I wouldn't dream of stepping in that way. And I'm just not big on giving advice. And when I left that conversation, I was surprised at how ennobled I felt by his response. How it had filled me and fed something in me that I didn't know needed to be fed. Here was an older man saying, I trust you. You got this. You'll figure it out. You make mistakes, but that's okay. It's a human thing to make mistakes. Totally fine. Yeah, that was a real vulnerable moment. And of course, any kind of too big guru preys on that. Yes, I see that, and you need my help in this way, and here's the advanced program that will... And again, this isn't saying you don't share your point of view. I mean, that's one story, it's one moment, it's not the only possibility. But it's I think, seeing the vulnerability for what it is in people. And so if we market in such a way that first of all, we don't try to be everything to everybody. And we're clear about that. Look, I can't help everyone, don't want to help everyone. Number one. This builds a certain amount of credibility. And of course, we draw to us people who are more likely to be a fit. And when they come, if we say, well, let me just share my point of view. Let me share my philosophy more in depth. Because I trust you. You'll resonate with this or you won't. I'm going to make the best case I can, not for you working with me, but for this philosophy, for this approach. And then I'll lower the risk. Here's an easy way to take the next step if you're interested. And if you're not, then it's not a fit, and that's totally fine. No reason it should be. And of course, if we do this hub marketing, which means people are coming to us sort of pre-filtered already, probably coming from a good source, and there's already some trust, and we do all those things, yeah? So how do we get people's attention? Well, there's a number of ways. Word of mouth is the best. Word of mouth meaning we help people, and those people talked about it, and they send people. But of course, there's hub marketing. That's another way you can get their attention. And, advertising, all these things, which has a certain hub element to it. Cold calling, you could do the cold approach. So there's lots of ways to get people's attention. I'm just actually realizing now the whole hub marketing thing could fit there, of the cold, the warm, and the hot level of marketing. And anyways, that's basically how you get people's attention. And if we do it in that way, where people are coming because they were referred, and they're getting to really check us out and hear our point of view, and they get a risk-free way to work with us, and at no point are they coerced, because the thread that goes through the whole thing is our overt agenda to get to the truth of if it's a fit or not, rather than the hidden agenda to get the sale. If we do that, not only does this work well for our business, long term, this is the long game, not only does it work well for our business, and we'll probably grow a very satisfying livelihood from it, consider the impact you've made on the world. Instead of gaslighting and coercing and manipulating people, instead of that, what have you done? You've done something beautiful. You've affirmed their worthiness as a human being. You've affirmed their deep trustworthiness too. And then whether or not they work with you, they leave that interaction in a better place. They leave that interaction more connected to their own self, their feelings, their intuition, their body, their own knowing. And they've had at least one experience in their life of somebody saying, with all sincerity, deeply and profoundly, I trust you. So I think that's not bad. That's not a bad legacy to leave to the world. Because what's the legacy that other people leave? Oh, they got rich. I'm not saying this other stuff doesn't work. The manipulation, coercion, gaslighting, it works real well. And this is what cults are based on. And the two big gurus, this is what their work is based on. And it does work, so they die rich. Great. You made a lot of money, you got a lot of followers, and you've left behind you a legacy of this sort of drip trauma, of a constant gaslighting. You've left behind a legacy of hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people who trust themselves less, and you've left a cleanup job to a lot of other people to do. Congratulations. Anyways, I just had to get that off my chest and share that. It just seemed very important to say. And I'm glad you're all out there doing the work you're doing as we try to find our way towards a more noble, worthwhile way of being a human being in business in a culture that makes that very difficult to do. So my hat off to all of you for trying. Thanks for watching this video. If you like it, feel free to share it. And if you have any questions or comments or reflections, I'd love to hear them. Please put them in the comment section below. Yeah, I hope you're doing well. Take care, everyone.